Hey everybody, this is my everyday carry, what's in my fly fishing camera bag.
Dude, that's a big brown.
Alright, we've had a lot of requests lately to find out what photography equipment we're using when we're out and about on the river or on the lake. And so I'm going to go through my basic stuff that I carry with me in a camera bag or in my sling bag, wherever I'm going. I have a bunch of different ways that I organize in my bags, which if you want to see that video, it's in the link below. I go through my whole camera bag setup that kind of doubles as a fishing bag. It's a great video because I explain how I deal with cameras and different lenses while I'm on the water, and having a bag that can work well to protect my gear but also does well with fishing. But anyway, in today's video, we're going to focus more on the actual nitty-gritty technical aspect of what I'm going to use day in, day out, everyday carry while I'm on the water with my fly fishing photography. So to start out, the camera that I've settled on, I've had for now a year and a half, is the Sony A1 or the Sony Alpha 1. So this is a full frame mirrorless camera. It's from Sony. For me, there's several reasons I like this camera. Number one, it's a pretty small form factor still, so even though it's a full frame, I actually don't like the extended grip with the extra battery compartment. I usually carry extra batteries. I still like the ability to have a nice normal human-sized camera as opposed to a big bulk gigantic camera that I'm going to have a different bag for. So form factor wise, it's a great camera. Technically speaking, this is probably one of the more advanced cameras in the world. The Sony line in general, even if you didn't want to go, this is kind of their top of the line mirrorless camera. If you wanted to go to the other A series like the A7 III or A7 II or 4 now, those are great cameras as well. Awesome technical specs when we're talking menus and things that you can do set up with a camera, but also things like focus and things that the camera does in camera to capture light in the correct light conditions. Lots of reasons that I like the Sony Alpha 1 just from kind of a technical standpoint, as well again as the whole Sony lineup. Another thing that I like about specifically the Alpha 1 is that it has, depending on the settings that you use and the lenses that you use, has 30 frames per second burst mode. That's photography, that's not filming. So I literally could get a fish being in the air on, let's say, a jumping trout on the lake. I could, with one button press in 1 second, get 30 shots. That literally would get the whole sequence of the fish. So the high frame rate with this is phenomenal if you're doing action shots with fish jumps or fights. So as you lift that fish out of the water, you can burst a bunch of shots off back down in the water, and you've literally captured every millisecond of that process, limiting the amount of time that the fish is actually out of the water. So in association to that, there is a mode on this camera that I think is a game changer with fish photography. And that they have 3 modes with focusing on eyes. The original Sonys and some of the other cameras out there have had for a while eye focus. So in the focus frame, the camera will actually look and migrate towards a human eye. Then they came out with animal eye focus. So in a lot of circumstances it wouldn't work, most circumstances it wouldn't work with fish, but like a dog or a bear, if you were getting attacked by a bear, you'd get really sharp photos focusing on its eyes. However, with the Sony A1, they've come out with bird eye focus. And what I found out, sort of by accident, as I was trying the different focus modes with fish, and found that fish and birds must have very similar eyes, because now what I can do, if I set this to bird eye focus, as you lift that fish right out of the water, that trout, whatever it is, and start firing off your bursts of shots, the focus will set on that fish's eye and give you tack sharp focus every frame. It's insane. Maybe out of 100 shots I'll have 2 or 3 that are out of focus, but phenomenal quick grabbing of the focus on the eye. And if you've done fish photography for a while, you know that if you've got the eye in focus, the rest of the fish comes along with it. So that is probably my favorite feature of this camera, is that fish eye focus mode. And when I'm on the water, I always have that set to, it's bird eye focus, but I call it fish eye focus. That for me is a killer option for this camera. Okay, in addition, so It took me a while to upgrade our video cameras a few years ago to the Sony Alpha series because I wanted to find a camera that did well with video and with photography. Well, the Alpha 3, the Sony A3, and then those above that, including this one, are excellent hybrid cameras. These do excellent video work as well as photo work. In fact, that's what we're shooting this on, is another Sony A1. This is the still photography version, and that one's our video version. But the nice thing is I can still use all the lenses that I use for photography. We carry along, and Brig can swap out lenses as we need to if we need to get longer shots. So having that ability to do good video is phenomenal for us. So if you do want to go out and take photos but still have the option to want to shoot good video, it's an awesome camera for that. It shoots at 8K, so you can have that uber high resolution if you want. And then you can also go super slow-mo if you want to shoot in higher frames per second and slow that down in post. So with that said though, so the body itself, excellent camera, but let's go through some of the lenses and what I use them for, whether it's here in the studio or on the water. To start off with, kind of at the wide end of things, I have the 24mm prime G Master lens. These are all Sony lenses. I found when we're talking features of the camera, the Sony cameras typically do better with the G Master Sony brand lenses. So the 24mm lens is also great for fish photography. Also, I like to sometimes have a wide angle lens if I'm going to be in close quarters with somebody and I want to get a fish photo and I can get closer, then it's good. Also, hint, pro tip here, if you want your fish to look bigger, take your fish pictures with a wide angle lens. Boom. All right. Another lens that's good, this one is a zoom lens. This is the 24-70 2.8. This is the version 2, the one that just came out a couple months ago. As far as an all-around kind of walk-around lens, this is probably tops. It is, like I said, a 2.8 aperture, so you can get a really narrow depth of field if you need. With that, you can get good low light results, so you can take your camera early morning, late evening, and still get good fast enough speeds to get the light in there that you need for your photography. And again, going up to 70, this is good. It can probably cover you maybe a boat length. That's kind of what I gauge. If I'm on a boat, do I have to come up to the front of the boat or the other side of the boat? So having a 70mm at least gets you a little bit of reach to get in and capture some of the photos that you can't move yourself to. So this, quality-wise, we do most of our filming with this lens on the water because it does have that versatility, and it's an awesome, sharp lens. All right, moving up the range a little bit. One of my favorite lenses, and this is the one we shoot all of our fly tying tutorials with, and this is the 90mm G Master macro lens. I very often carry this with me on the water if I know there's going to be bugs around. If you check out our Instagram, you'll see a sequence of salmon fly shots that I did and other bugs that I've taken over the years with the macro lens. I do all the fly photography with this macro lens. Again, it works well with this camera. So it's a good all-around. It doesn't have to be just macro either. You can use the macro lens to take pictures of fish or anything else you want. It's a 90mm after all. So, which from a macro standpoint with fly photography, you do want a little longer lens so that you're not right up there next to your subject, especially fly tying videos. I would say a fly tying video ideal macro lens would be that 90 to 100, 110 range, as opposed to a 30 or 40 where you have to be super close and are bumping up to the guy tying the fly. So anyway, macro lens, awesome one to have. I take it with me a lot. And now at the other end of the spectrum, we're going to save the best for last. So I'm going to move on to probably my favorite wildlife photography lens. And I take this, it's a Hulk. This is the Sony G Master 200mm to 600mm lens. This has an internal zoom, so it doesn't actually get longer or shorter. So that whole zoom range is included there in this length. So if you're buying bags or anything for this, you know which size it's going to be always. So I will have this with me. You'd be surprised at how, when you see wildlife, deer, birds, anything like that, how close you really need to be to get good photos of them. So in my mind, whenever I'm out on the water, it's always a good idea just to have this along unless I'm really cramped for space. This is always in my bag or my case. and it helps me get great shots at a distance. Again, that 600 millimeter range gets you reaching out there kind of to bird level where you can get some longer shots. Again, kind of heavy, but it's a great lens to have in your bag if you want to go that route. Now, my favorite lens out of all the Sony lenses, this is a newer one, and this just came out, and that is the Sony 70-200 lens. So now this is not considered a wide angle, of course, but the reason I like this is because this is like the ideal boat or on the water lens, whether you're in a boat or somebody's fishing with you and they have a fish and you want to be able to take that shot from a little bit further distance. This is, which is a 2.8 aperture lens maximum, and so it's quick enough to get capture the movement in case things are moving or low light and that sort of thing, but it will have that extra reach to get you out there if you're on a boat and let's say you can't move to the other end of the boat, or if your person that you're trying to take a shot of is on the other side of the stream. Again, you can minimize the amount of time that fish is out of the water, and pairing that with the super fast shutter actuation speed on the Sony camera, I can have somebody lift a fish out of the water across the stream, snap off a bunch of photos in a couple seconds, boom, fish is back in the water and on the way. So this one is my most versatile lens. I always have this with me when I travel, when I fish, anywhere I go, this lens is in my pack. So I would say at the end of the day, I'm usually carrying these two big boys with me and likely a macro lens. I may carry the 24, not always, but these are the lenses, are kind of the workhorse lenses that I use every day when I'm out on the water. We do have some other lenses back there that we use over time, but these are more just kind of the main stable of lenses and the camera that we use. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll try to respond to most of those as we can. If you want to check out some of the photography and videos we have, check us out on our flyfishfood.com website, as well as the other YouTube videos we have, and we're on Instagram and Facebook as well.